Hello guys, welcome to the movie recap review. Happy watching.
Habitat.
No, get away from me!
It's a cigarette when he wakes up.
The film opens with a married couple, Rachel, who is pregnant, and her husband, Matt, driving together on a peaceful journey. Everything seems to be going smoothly until they encounter a road closure ahead. Matt follows the detour signs, but in a moment of distraction, he fails to notice a fallen tree in the road and crashes into it. Their car is damaged, leaving them stranded at the edge of a dense forest, far from any nearby town. As Matt attempts to call a tow truck, he realizes his phone has no signal. Spotting a farmhouse about half a mile away, he and Rachel decide to walk there, hoping to find help. Along the way, they pass a sign warning that the area is private property, but with no other options, they continue forward. Before they reach the farmhouse, a man pulls up in a truck and confronts them, demanding they leave his land. Despite Matt's explanation of their predicament, the man remains insistent until he notices Rachel's advanced pregnancy and learns she's expecting a boy. His attitude shifts dramatically. Introducing himself as Bobby, he calls his wife Agnes to inform her of the unexpected visitors. Although initially hesitant, Agnes warms up upon hearing about Rachel's pregnancy, especially the fact that the baby is a boy, and insists they come to the house. Matt and Rachel assure Bobby they just need to borrow his phone and don't want to intrude. However, Bobby insists, explaining that the storm has damaged the phone line and that they're waiting on repairs. Left with few choices, they reluctantly accept Bobby's invitation, and he leads them up to his house. As they make their way to the farmhouse, Rachel notices a girl in a black dress standing in the distance, watching her intently. When they arrive at Bobby's home, his wife, Agnes, greets them warmly alongside her two sons, Luke and David. Agnes instructs her sons to carry the guests' bags to a room where Matt and Rachel will stay for the night. Grateful and surprised by the hospitality, they marvel at the level of kindness, especially since they only wanted to borrow a phone. However, they don't realize that Agnes is quietly listening just outside their room. Later, Rachel glimpses the same girl she saw on their way there, and when she tells Matt, he looks but sees no one. That evening, Agnes invites them to join the family for dinner. During the meal, Rachel spots a photograph of Agnes, Bobby, and the mysterious girl. Curious, she asks who the girl is. Agnes explains that she's their youngest, Faith, who isn't joining them for dinner. She reveals that Faith, like Luke and David, was adopted, as she and Bobby couldn't have children of their own. Agnes mentions that God had a special plan in bringing them together as a family. As dinner continues, Rachel and Matt are unsettled by Bobby's restrained anger toward his sons, though he tries to hide it. Afterward, Matt and Rachel retreat to their room, where Rachel expresses growing doubts about Agnes and her family, feeling that something is off, especially with Faith's absence and the family's tense behavior. She urges Matt that they should leave in the morning. Suddenly, they hear faint sounds just outside their door, as if someone is eavesdropping on their conversation. When Matt checks, he finds no one there. Realizing that Rachel is exhausted, he gently suggests they get some rest. The next morning, Rachel wakes to the sound of quiet sobbing. She turns to find Matt gone and sees Faith crying over the bodies of her parents. As Faith approaches, she begins to speak her name, just as Rachel jolts awake, realizing it was only a dream. She turns to Matt, explaining that she's recognized the girl as Ellie Adams, a missing child whose family disappearance has been all over the news for months. Rachel suspects that Agnes's family is involved and could be responsible for Ellie's family's fate. Determined to leave immediately, she urges Matt to get out of the house with her. They quietly head downstairs, but when they reach the front door, they find it locked. Matt grabs a key from a box on the wall, but it slips from his hand and clatters to the floor, alerting Bobby, who appears behind them. Matt tries to stay calm, telling Bobby they'll continue their journey on foot. But Bobby stands there, silently watching as they attempt to leave. As they're about to leave, they find Luke and David already standing outside, holding a weapon. David strikes Matt, and Rachel is knocked unconscious by Bobby's blow, leaving them both defenseless. When Rachel comes to, she's chained and frantically asks where Matt is. Agnes coldly replies that he's in a better place now. Meanwhile, Luke and David are outside, digging a grave for Matt, who lies unconscious. They strip him of all his clothes, leaving him completely vulnerable. Just as Luke raises a weapon to finish him off, David suggests they bury Matt alive instead. With a smirk, Luke tosses Matt's cigarettes and lighter into the makeshift coffin, muttering that he might need them when he wakes up. Rachel is in the throes of labor, assisted by Agnes. After a tense period, she gives birth, but to her shock, the baby is a girl instead of a boy. Agnes takes the newborn outside, leaving an exhausted Rachel behind. Desperate to escape, Rachel struggles to free her bound hands. Just as she manages to loosen her restraints, she grabs a hanging cross and feigns normalcy when Agnes returns. Fed up with Agnes's manipulations, Rachel strikes her. But her attempt is thwarted as the rest of the family appears, overpowering her. Once again, she's secured with cable ties around her wrists and ankles. In a chilling confession, Agnes reveals that she killed Faith's parents in the name of God, claiming she saved her adopted children from the clutches of Satan and accusing Rachel and other parents of spreading an evil culture. After Agnes gags her, Rachel is dragged to a hay shed where Agnes forces her breast milk to be pumped. Meanwhile, Matt wakes up disoriented, trying to understand his surroundings. He discovers he is inside a coffin, buried alive. He examines the loose dirt around the crate and begins to frantically claw at the sides, desperate to break free. After a grueling struggle, he finally escapes, emerging into the open air without any clothes. As he wanders aimlessly, confused and alone, he stumbles upon a waterfall and drinks from it. Nearby, he finds a piece of cloth, which he uses to cover himself. Back in the hay shed, Rachel continues her fruitless attempts to break free from her restraints until exhaustion overtakes her and she falls asleep. When she awakens, she's greeted by Ellie Adams, the girl she had seen earlier. Ellie brings food and drink, but shows no intention of helping Rachel. Instead, she simply walks away. The scene shifts to Matt, who continues his trek to find a highway. Eventually, he stumbles upon two men camping in the woods. Desperate, he explains the harrowing ordeal he and Rachel are enduring, pleading for their help. But, noting Matt's disheveled appearance, the men dismiss him as a drunken man suffering from hallucinations. With no other choice, Matt is forced into a scuffle, ultimately overpowering them. He takes their clothes and offers a compromise, handing them a knife to cut themselves free once they show him the way to the highway. Meanwhile, back at the farmhouse, Luke and David enter Rachel's room, where Agnes is with her newborn granddaughter. Frustrated by the baby's gender, they suggest a twisted solution, that one of them impregnates Rachel to produce a boy, believing this to be part of God's plan. Enraged, Agnes chases them out, but Luke and David, feeling emboldened, decide to pursue Rachel in the hay shed. At the same time, Matt, now closer to the farmhouse, encounters Ellie, who discreetly offers to help him locate Rachel. As Matt approaches the hay shed, he finds Luke and David attempting to assault Rachel. Just in time, he bursts in with a metal pipe, swiftly attacking and killing both brothers. Overwhelmed with relief, Rachel embraces Matt, telling him about the birth of their daughter. Elated, Matt uses the pipe to break Rachel's chains, but Agnes, hearing the metallic clanging, sends Bobby to investigate. Ellie distracts Agnes, allowing Rachel and Matt to slip out of the hay shed, only to find Bobby waiting, shotgun in hand. Matt shields Rachel, taking a bullet himself. As he falls, Bobby strikes Rachel with his rifle, knocking her unconscious. When Rachel comes to, she finds herself tied up once again in the same spot. To her surprise, Ellie is chained beside her, also attempting to wriggle free. Rachel loosens the bricks, anchoring her chain, and together they free themselves, removing the chains from their necks and wrists. Back at the house, Bobby watches Agnes, who is disturbingly applying makeup to the lifeless faces of Luke and David. Agnes, in denial about their deaths, believes they're only asleep. Bobby gently urges her to let them go, and they proceed to bury the two in a nearby meadow with 3 crosses marking the graves. After a somber farewell, Bobby convinces Agnes to return to the house, but she lingers, struggling to say goodbye. Meanwhile, Rachel and Ellie quietly make their way back to Bobby and Agnes's house. Inside, Rachel finally reunites with her newborn daughter, overcome with relief and joy. However, their peace is short-lived. Bobby soon returns. With no other option, Rachel and Ellie hide in a closet, holding their breath as Bobby enters the room to check on the baby. Satisfied, he leaves the room, taking the breast pump with him. But when he reaches the hay shed and discovers Rachel's absence, he grabs his gun and rushes back to the house. Determined, Rachel steps out of hiding, no longer willing to play along. She asks to feed her baby directly instead of using the pump. Bobby agrees, but as he approaches her, she swiftly pulls out a hidden cloth-wrapped knife, plunging it into him. Bobby falls, fatally wounded. Rachel seizes the moment to grab Bobby's cell phone and calls the police. Agnes returns, immediately sensing something is amiss. Noticing the key left in the hay shed's lock, she retrieves the gun and waits just outside the house, ready to confront Rachel. Not long after, Agnes leaves the scene in a tractor, heading off somewhere unknown. Meanwhile, Rachel and Ellie cautiously emerge from the house, armed with Bobby's gun. They rush to the car, but their hopes are dashed when they realize the keys are missing. Unbeknownst to them, Agnes is watching from a distance, keeping tabs on their every move. Agnes soon approaches, gun in hand, forcing Rachel away from the car and leaving Ellie with the baby for the time being. A tense standoff ensues, with both women exchanging gunfire. The shots fly wildly, most missing their mark. Rachel, wounded in both arms and legs, fights desperately to keep Agnes from taking her child. In a fierce struggle, Rachel gains the upper hand, repeatedly slamming Agnes's head against the ground until she finally overcomes her. With Agnes incapacitated, Rachel and Ellie make a break for it, just as the sound of sirens announces the arrival of the police and ambulance. The officers and medical personnel rush to assist, demanding to know what happened. But just as they begin to understand the gravity of the situation, Agnes stumbles from behind the ambulance, still alive, and attempts to shoot Rachel again. Quick to react, the police fire back, fatally wounding Agnes. As the chaos settles, an officer inquires about Ellie Adams, the girl who had been reported missing. But at that moment, Ellie mysteriously vanishes from sight. It dawns on Rachel that the girl she had seen in the house earlier was not the real Ellie Adams. Her attempts to escape were shadowed by the spirit of the deceased Ellie. Additionally, one of the 3 grave markers from the previous scene belongs to Ellie Adams, also known as Faith Fairbairn. As the film concludes, Rachel and her newborn baby are taken away in an ambulance, leaving behind the horrors of the past, but carrying the weight of their traumatic experience.
And that's the end of the story. I hope you liked it. Comment down below what movies do you like us to recap next. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Until next time.